Yes, it was kickball, but not the kickball you're thinking of. It's those huge plastic balls you get at the Dollar General.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting in our yard. And my neighbors who are 40, 50, 60 years old, what we do is just kick these balls way up in here and try to get them stuck in the tree. And we just have a blast. However, though I got too stuck in the tree.
Did you climb the tree at
least? No, I pulled something in my leg.
You did?
So what if still came true? The worries that you had about softball, it came true now.
It came true because I didn't even think about injuring myself by kicking a little plastic ball.
But you did.
But I did.
So are you ever playing that version of kickball again?
Like, exactly.
Yes.
I don't
Do it.
Sit out. The
You're
next time.
walking just fine. Your legs are fine.
My legs are fine.
And you.
But boy, something pulls.
You did your speed golf this morning.
I did, by slower.
But maybe that's why
okay.
it was a little off today.
Oh,
You're legitimately hurt, Mel.
Wow.
You're a real athlete.
What if it happens again, Mel? I think you should probably sit on the sideline. I think you should be done with contact sports.
Yeah, forever and ever. You're out.
Definitely.
You're out.
You've
aged out, Mel. You've aged out.
Right, the 40-year-olds are good, the 50-year-olds are good, the 60-year-olds are good.
Yeah.
So welcome back, everyone, to What If Spell, formerly known as Mel in the Middle.
And as much as it may look like we're off to see the wizard, we're not.
We're not.
On the yellow brick road.
And we don't have... Well, we've got a yellow lined road.
You were going to yellow. Stay in the lines.
But here we
Dorothy
are.
had to make a choice of which way
Right.
she was going.
I know.
That's exactly where the scarecrow came in.
Yeah.
This is important.
Yeah.
Sounds like Mel in the Middle. Are you ready?
We are. So here we are.
So we did the update on the softball, right? We need a little tiny update on Bible school.
Bible school. It was great.
Kids showed up.
Kids showed up. And those who did, I felt like learned very well. And kids who showed up who don't normally come to church, they had an excellent time. And we had 2 adults that happened to just pop in. And I feel like there's contact possibilities there that could bring them in as well. So that was a very worthwhile time. And it was so interesting to hear about those 2 Thai girls. There were 4. They were all tremendous. But 2 are so good in pickleball. That
Wait, did you play pickleball?
No, I didn't play pickleball. No, pickleball would be
I
okay.
don't know what that is, but it's okay.
It's like miniature tennis, but it's not ping pong. It's on a
like
court.
in between.
It's on a court.
Oh, is that like where you both stand on the same side and there's a wall?
Nope.
That's
nope.
racquetball.
Oh, racquetball.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Something with a ball and a racket.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's, like I say, a smaller tennis court that's played with paddles, not rackets.
Got it.
And you play it with wiffle ball,
That's right.
basically.
That's true.
But these girls are so good that they're entering a pro tournament in Pittsburgh
Whoa.
this Friday. Tomorrow, in fact.
So was that intimidating to you?
No, I was really happy for them.
Did you walk up to them and say to them, "Well, that's really good, but I'm an Olympian"?
No way.
Have you ever told anybody, Mel, that you are an Olympian?
No, because I never was.
See?
I only made it to the trials, and I just don't feel like talking about it. Ooh, now you're hearing something very honest.
Welcome to
Ooh.
Mel in the Middle. Do you ever think about, Mel, what would have happened? The what ifsville. About what if you had made it to the Olympics?
Oh, of
stop.
course.
It's like-
Oh, Andy, you don't know how many times I've said I should have trained this way. If I wouldn't have overdone, I would have gone into the trials at my peak rather than peaking the week before.
Well, no.
I'm sorry. Because I remember it, the track in West Virginia did 3 5Ks in a row, and those 3 5Ks were done at a time I didn't think I would do. But by the time I got to the race, I had raced it the week before.
What year was that, Mel?
That was 1988.
'88.
1988.
Yep.
And you remember it like yesterday.
Yep.
Now,
Remember the track.
that's a really good Mel in the Middle episode at some point.
Yeah.
Could be.
I was 3. Years old.
I was
Not in her third year of college.
not
Not in third grade. Not 3 of anything other than 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was 28. Oh well. Another time.
You made
No.
it. You made it places other people have never been.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's a
I'm-
good thing.
Grateful for that.
So, question for you today. You
Okay.
ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, we're gonna pull you out of the slump and put you in another situation.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Mel, I want you to imagine. Can you do that?
Okay, I
All
can
right.
do it.
You are in the largest shoe store in the entire universe. You're probably there with Summer/Amber.
You know what? I just thought of Summer. As soon as she said shoe store, I thought Summer. Maybe Summer's
The
there.
largest, except for you are at the largest shoe store in the universe with your entire church family.
Okay.
All right? Everybody you can think of at your church, and maybe some extras, are there. Right?
Okay.
All right. They're spread out across this shoe store doing what shoe store people do, right? Looking at shoes.
Trying them on.
All right, got it. They're trying them on. They're doing all these things. If in the middle of this event, shoe bonanza, right? If in the middle of this event, you were to call out to your people, right? You were to call out and say, Kind Tone Congregational Lights, it's time for us to meet over in aisle 5 and for you all to help me pick out my pair of shoes, right?
Okay.
All right. How many
Wait, you
How many of your people, Mel, are going to respond to your voice?
The word all comes to mind.
You should have left out Cayentonites.
How many people, Mel, really, all of your people are going to respond and they're going to come to you?
I think they would. That's the first word that came to my mind was all.
Well,
Fantastic.
that could be good or bad, Mel.
Yeah, I
See,
know.
Depending on how this goes, that could be bad.
So,
We'll
Mel,
see.
if in that same moment, right, you get the brain trust idea that this is a way bigger moment than just Kind Tone Nights, right? And you make the announcement to the entire store. Everyone in this store needs to come and help me pick out my shoes. How many of them are coming?
Minute
Just
amount.
just all of
a
your
minute.
people.
Yeah, I mean,
Would there be
Yeah.
any extras? Would anybody respond to the voice of Mel?
no.
Come on, you don't
Well, you might have. Maybe Melissa might.
I
don't
was
know.
just gonna say, I bet there's a Melissa in the store that knows your voice from Mel in the Middle.
That's true.
And they'd be like, I know that voice. They
Yes.
come over, right? But the rest of the people
No,
probably not
no.
gonna pay much.
They'd say, who's this guy making such an announcement?
But shoot.
Making such an announcement, right? Why do the Kind Tone Knights know your voice? Why would they respond to it?
Because they've heard it preach. They've heard it teach. They've maybe heard it on the air.
Mm-hmm.
So they know that voice is recognizable.
So on any given Sunday morning, you're telling me that 100% of the people who listen to you respond to your voice.
For shoes.
For shoes. Couldn't get much more honest than that.
Define respond.
Good.
If you get up there and you're giving your message on a Sunday morning, right? How many of the people that you're talking to, right, do something with the message that you have just given them? Right? So again, you make the call in the shoe store. You say,
Yeah.
hey, come to me, all kind tone knights. Right?
Yep.
And the people, you said, all of them are going to come to you.
Yep.
All of them are going to respond.
Yeah,
Right? They
I
didn't just
did.
hear your
That's
voice,
what I did.
but they're going to respond. So I'm taking that to mean that on a Sunday basis, you have a 100% response rate.
No, right there. No, I can't say I do.
Huh. So Mel, Summer's going to do some reading out of the Bible, right? We were talking about this yesterday, reading this passage, and it just really stuck with me, right? So she's going to read out of John chapter 10, I think it is, right?
Yeah.
All right. I want you to listen to these. I want you to listen very carefully because I got some questions for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Verily, verily, I say to you, he that enters not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbs up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he that enters in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the porter opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. And when he puts forth his own sheep, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers.
So Mel, are you ready for some questions?
Oh boy, I think these are going to get more difficult.
Yeah.
No, these are going to be easy. These are easy. There's not a person who's ever listened to Mel in the Middle who thinks that I give hard questions.
No.
All right, Mel. Are you ready?
I'm
Summer
ready.
can jump in whenever she wants to.
Yes.
Sometimes the follow-up questions are the harder questions, right? My very first question. Once again, do the people of Kind Tone Congregational Church, right? Do they know your voice? Would you say?
Yeah. They would know it.
They know your voice.
Yep.
Right? Excellent. Do you think that your voice, right, is identical to the voice of Jesus all of the time?
No. I can't say that.
That's a really good idea to not say.
Yeah, I was going to say, good choice.
Well done.
No one can
Right?
say that.
So the concept here is, are you building a church at Kind Tone Congregational Church? Are you building a church that recognizes the voice of Mel or the voice of Jesus?
Wow. When I heard that question, I better be very word focused.
Good idea.
I better also be very confessional rather than pietistic.
No,
Because confessional puts Christ on the front burner, and pietism puts our doing on the back burner.
So keep going. I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah. So being word focused and confessional draws people to him rather than me. It's not a good thing if me gets in the way.
So, to rephrase that question, the same question, if I came to your church and before your service I taught Sunday school to all the adults, right? And I taught them a lesson and did my thing, and then you preached, would they walk away saying that they heard the same voice in both settings? Or would they say, well, this is Summer and this is Mel?
I hope they would hear the voice of Scripture. said, the Bible, I'm not sure if I'm quoting him correctly. The Bible is our prophet. Meaning, I think what he's saying, the Bible is Christ's word. And if that's the word heard, then it means I'm merely an instrument through which the voice of Christ, through his word, is being heard by those who gather.
So then, if Jesus made a surprise visit to Kynetoneites, right? If Jesus made a visit to your church and he spoke and said something, would people recognize his voice?
I sure hope they would, especially as he speaks through the office of prophet, priest, and king.
So if on a Sunday morning you were up giving your message, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus came in to the service, right? Says, "Excuse me, Mal, I have something to say."
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this before, right?
I see him literally shoving you out of the way, not saying.
But if he was very polite and said, "Mel, could I say something?"
Yeah.
And he said something, do you think people would respond to the voice of Jesus?
Would they all? I don't know. I mean, I sure hope everybody would. But I can't say all. Even myself would respond in a way that would show 100% complete faithfulness to what he delivered.
See, I say everybody responds to the voice of Jesus. It just might not be the way that we want or the way he wants. Half of them are going to try to, drag him out and stone him, and the other half are going to be like, Mel, why didn't you ever tell us this before?
Summer, that's the better answer.
Everyone responds.
That's the right answer. That's the best answer. Everybody responds.
Everybody has to, is what the Bible tells us, right? Everybody's going to acknowledge Jesus. It's what you did with him that's going to be important, right?
That was great.
Better, harder question. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
If Mel's up preaching a sermon, Jesus walks in the front door, because he's not using the back door, we read that, right? He's going to come in through the front door. He walks in and he says, "Excuse me, Mel, you have that wrong."
Ooh.
That isn't what I said. That's not what I meant. That's not what I believe. Your doctrine's a little off. Your philosophy's a little off. You got the right heart, the right intent, but wrong application. Right? What are the people of Kyneton Church going to do in that moment?
I hope they would follow Christ.
What are they going to do, Mel?
That's a... What are they... That man... I would say, go to Christ. Hear what he has to say.
Well, no. I know what you said. We're going to tell them, right? But you said that even somebody that you don't know that you would recognize, right? Some guy walks in, right, and says, wrong application, right? Right heart. Are the people of Kyneton Congregational Church, are they trained up to recognize the voice of their shepherd, ultimately, of Jesus? Or are they being trained on a Sunday basis to recognize the voice of their earthly shepherd, who says he represents Jesus?
Right away, my mind went to Acts chapter 17, where the Bereans searched the scripture to see if what Paul was saying was so.
Right. Would they test the spirits?
Yes, 1 John chapter 4, verse 1.
Or would they tell him that he's wrong and kick him out. Because that's usually what happens.
Like with the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the teachers of the law.
Which is easy for those in the church to slip into.
Of course.
So Mel, would the people of your church, I've already had to answer this question about Lakeview, just for the record.
Mm-hmm.
Would the people of your church, do they know the voice of Jesus and how to find it? Or would they defer to the voice of Mel if it's Jesus versus Mel? I know what you wouldn't want to happen.
That's
but who does that?
That's a very sobering question. Wow, because it just makes me think.
Scary, right?
Exactly. It's scary.
And then you have to think, like, whose fault is that?
Right.
Is it your fault or is it their fault? Or, like,
Have
is
I
it everybody's fault?
have I not made the scripture clear? Did I go into an agenda that maybe should not have been spoken? I hope that people would be drawn back to his word and his word alone to make that evaluation.
So spread that out. Give yourself a little off the hookness.
Yeah.
And go to leadership, right? Is the leadership at our churches, right? Is the leadership at our churches training up people to hear and search for the voice of Jesus? Or are they training up their people to hear and search and respond to the voice of us?
And do they check you? Like, does your leadership check you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and say, like, Mel, here's what it's got to be. Do you all tell them, like, there's training for the voice, but do you all say, like, don't listen to me? I say that all the time. I'm like, don't listen, don't take my word for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm only talking because of what I read and what I prayed and what I learned, but, like, you need to do it on your own. Like, I can't. Don't just listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Do not. That is unwise.
Yeah, right.
Well, we've talked about this before, right? If someone comes in to a leadership meeting, says, the voice of Jesus told me I need to do this, and the leadership says, yeah, no, we don't think you should do that. Are your people trained enough that they would say, I'm going to follow the voice of Jesus? Or are they trained to say and be submissive to their authorities and say, I'm going to follow the voice of the church leadership?
I think the church is trained to trust in the skills, gifts, and abilities of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Which is nice because then they don't have to think. They don't have to worry. They don't have to pray.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, and they don't. Because if that took place, they would say, well, that's your job. That's your job to figure out. That's what we've trained them to think, that it's your job, right? Which is why if somebody has a friend or whatever, they're like, Pastor, here, come to the church. And then they pass them off to the pastor or the deacon or the whoever, right? The church is not trained to take any accountability or authority or power on their own. So if leadership says stuff like that, they're always going to submit to leadership.
And if they don't,
Which they should, but not in that way.
if they don't, then we get ready to discipline them. So, Mel, have we ever disciplined people for listening to the word of Jesus rather than ours?
Oh, gosh, yes.
Or have we ever stood in the way of the voice of Jesus and told people to listen to our voice instead of his? So here would be my last question too, full circle.
Okay.
And you can wrap this up any way you want to.
Yeah.
If we're in the world's largest shoe store and Jesus calls out to the people of Kind Tone Congregational Church, says, hey, come help me pick out shoes in aisle 15, right? Are the people responding to the voice of Jesus? Would they all come? You said at the beginning they would all come
Yeah.
to your voice.
Yeah.
Would they all come to the voice of Jesus?
Yeah. Crunchy face.
I know, and I don't know how to answer that one.
Do you want me to tell you how I answered it for Lakeview?
Oh, please do.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't all respond. But it's just the truth. There is work to be done at Lakeview Community Church, right? At getting people to be able to hear, recognize, hear, listen to, accept, and then respond to the voice of Jesus, right? We build churches based on people responding to our voices, trusting us, all that kind of stuff. But we're supposed to be connecting people, aren't we, to Jesus?
Yeah.
I think that if Jesus walked into Lakeview Community Church this Sunday and started talking, not everybody would respond.
You know what? I think you're absolutely right. Because that's what we find in Scripture. Not everybody responded affirmatively. There were those who tuned out. There were those who became agitated.
Very.
We read about them
We do.
throughout the Gospels. There were those who at first seemed to be right on board, and Jesus illustrated that with the parable of the sower.
That's exactly right.
And how many good soils are there in the parable of the sower? 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4. Now that's not to say that's the equation that's worked out throughout society today, but it does tell you something about the condition of the human heart.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
So Andy, I'd say after giving this some thought, you're right on the mark. That is, not all would respond affirmatively. Which makes us say, our hearts better be wide open to what the gospel of Jesus Christ is communicating to us. All right. Tune in next week for another moment that makes me squirm and Mel in the middle.